You vacuum, you sit on your sofa, and you take a deep breath thinking, finally, a clean house. That first breath after you clean might actually be the dirtiest air you breathe all week. Because if you own a Dyson, a Shark, a Bissell, a Hoover, or a Dirt Devil, that clean feeling might be coming with a cloud of invisible plastic you'll never see. While you were cleaning, your vacuum didn't just suck dust off the floor, it ripped microscopic plastic fragments out of your carpet, shredded its own plastic parts, and then blasted those invisible particles straight into the air you and your family are breathing right now. You thought you were buying cleanliness. What you really might have bought is a machine that quietly turns your home into a microplastic fog. And this isn't some rare, weird defect. It's built into how most of the biggest vacuum brands in the world actually work. So let's stop talking in general. Let's talk about the names on the handles in people's homes right now. We will start with the king of premium, Dyson. You bought Dyson because you wanted to be done worrying. You paid more for the best. Sleek, futuristic design, crazy suction, swirly cyclones, bagless convenience. The message was simple. This is the last vacuum you'll ever need. Here's the problem. All that power and all those cyclones don't just pull dirt up. They tear into your carpet fibres at high speed. They rip, shred, and spin those pieces like a blender. And then on the other side, they push air out just as aggressively. Now add the satisfying part, the clear canister. You see all the dust, hair, and crumbs swirling inside. It feels good. You can see the proof that your home is getting clean. Then comes the moment no one ever warned you about, emptying it. You walk to your trash, press the release button, the bottom hatch pops open, and there's this little puff. You see a bit of visible dust fall, but what you don't see is the ultrafine cloud that instantly blooms around it. Every time you do that, a concentrated burst of microscopic plastic and dust goes straight up into the air, right where your face is. You're leaning in, you're close, you're hitting yourself with exactly the stuff you thought you just removed from your life. You didn't buy safety, you bought a plastic dust grenade in a designer tube. Now Shark. Shark sold you on the idea of powerful cleaning without the crazy price tag. Uprights, sticks, cordless. All with that aggressive marketing about deep cleaning, pet hair, and edge-to-edge performance. What's under all that performance? Brutal brush rolls and a lot of plastic rubbing on plastic. Shark vacuums are famous for their aggressive heads. They dig into your carpet, they chew, they spin hard. And while that feels satisfying, especially when you see pet hair come up, every rotation is scraping at fibres. Your carpet, fibres, your rug fibres, and the actual plastic bristles and body of the head itself. So what you've really got is a little grinding machine. Pass after pass, year after year, it's carving microscopic bits off everything it touches, the floor, the brush, the housing. And just like Dyson, many Shark models are also bagless, which means you get hit twice, once during the vacuuming itself, and once more when you flip that canister open over your bin. You thought you bought power on a budget. What you really bought was a more affordable way to atomize your carpets. Then there's Bissell. Bissell doesn't scream premium, it screams normal. It's the family vacuum, the one you find in regular homes, bought on sale, kept forever because it still works. And that's exactly why it's dangerous. Bissell machines tend to be heavy on plastic parts, plastic housings, plastic wheels, plastic internals. When they're new, they just do what every other vacuum does, rip up dust and fibres and blow some of it back out. But here's the catch. People don't replace these. They hang on to them for years, sometimes a decade. Over all that time, the brushes wear down, the tubes get scratched, the seals get a little looser, the inside turns into a scratched, scarred tunnel where air is constantly rushing through, scraping at those surfaces. Every little scratch is a place where plastic can flake off. Every loose seal is a tiny leak where unfiltered air, full of shredded plastic and dust, can escape before it ever hits the filter. So while you tell yourself it's old, but it still sucks up dirt, so it's fine, you're ignoring the one thing you can't see. The older it gets, the more it quietly sheds into your air. You didn't just save money by not upgrading, you've been slowly paying for it with every breath. Now Hoover is the brand that just won't die. It's the name your parents used, your grandparents used. Big, loud, heavy uprights that feel solid and reliable. But reliability on the outside doesn't mean purity on the inside. Most Hoovers people own right now aren't new. They're survivors. Old tech, older seals, older plastic formulations. These machines were not designed for a world where people worry about nanoplastic in their lungs. Over time, the gaskets loosen, the body hinge flexes, tiny cracks and gaps appear where pipes join, where the dust bag or bin fits in, where panels clip together. Air, being lazy, takes the path of least resistance. Instead of forcing everything through the filter, it slips out through all those tiny, weak points. So as your Hoover roars, it's not just pulling in dust, it's also leaking dusty, particle-rich air out of seam, screw holes and flex points. And again, the older and more dependable it seems, the more invisible damage it's likely hiding. That comforting noise you associate with cleaning day. Underneath it is the sound of microplastic-loaded air squeezing out through cracks you'll never notice. And then there's Dirt Devil. Dirt Devil lives in the cheap and cheerful section. You see it on the shelf and think, whatever, it's a vacuum. I just need something that sucks stuff up. This will do. To hit that low price, something has to give. And what usually goes first? Filtration quality, sealing, and material thickness. Basic filters instead of truly fine ones. Thinner plastic. Less attention to how tightly everything fits together. The result? A lot of places for air to escape before it's properly cleaned. So yes, it sucks up dirt. You see the stuff disappear. But at the exact same time, unfiltered air is being pushed out of every tiny gap and seam in the body. And remember what's in that air: shredded carpet fibres, fabric fibres, dust and microscopic plastic bits it just kicked up from your floor. You saved money at checkout, but you might be slowly paying that discount back, particle by particle, every time you breathe after you clean. So step back for a second and look at the pattern. Dyson, Shark, Bissell, Hoover, Dirt Devil. Different logos, different ads, different price points. Same basic story. Plastic machines filled with plastic parts, ripping through plastic fibres in plastic-filled rooms, and then blasting the aftermath into the air of the place you think is safest. Your home gets visually cleaner, your air gets invisibly dirtier. But to understand why this keeps happening across all these brands, you need to look at what your home and your vacuum are actually made of. Look around your home for a second in your mind. The carpet? Mostly synthetic fibres. The sofa? Polyester blends, foam, synthetic covers. Blankets, curtains, that cosy fleece hoodie. Synthetic. Almost everything soft in your home that isn't pure natural fibre is, in one way or another, plastic. Over time, all of that sheds. Tiny fibres break off when you walk, so sit, drag your feet, move furniture. Those fragments fall to the floor and become part of the dust. That dust is basically a mix of dead skin, dirt, pet hair, and a lot of microscopic plastic. Now enter the vacuum. When you switch it on, 3 things happen every single time. First, the suction doesn't just collect plastic fibres, it rips more of them off your carpets and rugs. Think of it like a mini hurricane scraping over a forest of plastic grass. Second, the spinning brushes at the bottom, those are plastic too. They grind against your carpet, your floor, and themselves. Over thousands of passes, they slowly sand themselves down. Little bits of the brush, the housing, the wheels, all of that gets shaved into tiny flakes. Third, all of this dust and shredded plastic is pulled through a maze of plastic tubes and chambers by a screaming hot motor. Then it hits the filter. And whatever doesn't get caught is fired right back out into your room as exhaust. Visible dirt ends in the dustbin. Invisible plastic ends in your lungs. And if you're thinking, well, mine has a HEPA filter so I'm fine, here's the part nobody prints on the box. HEPA filters are great at catching a specific size range of particles. They're designed around that sweet spot, around the point where most dangerous particles used to be measured. But microplastics don't politely stay in that range. A huge chunk of them are so small they can slip right through, especially the ultrafine stuff created by motors and friction. And even the best filter only helps if the air is actually forced through it. Every tiny leak, every worn seal, every loose fitting is a shortcut for dirty air to dodge the filter entirely. So no, the logo on your vacuum doesn't magically protect you, it just changes where and how it leaks. Okay, you're probably thinking, so is every vacuum evil? Is there literally nothing I can do? Not exactly. There are some designs that are less bad, not perfect, not safe forever, just less hostile to your lungs. One category is high-end, sealed bag systems from brands like Miele or Sibo. Instead of a clear plastic canister you pop open in your kitchen, they use thick, multi-layer bags inside a tightly sealed body. That changes the game in a few simple but important ways. When you vacuum, more of the dirty air is forced to go through the bag and filter because the machine is built to be airtight. Less leaking, less bypass. When you're done, you don't flip open a trapdoor and create a dust explosion in your face. You slide out a sealed bag, close it off, and throw it away. You don't see the dust, you don't smell it, you don't inhale the worst moment of it. Is it perfect? No. The motor still grinds, the brushes still wear. The world around you is still shedding plastic. But at least you're not manually re-aerosolizing your own dust cloud every week. Then you've got central vacuum systems, or some water-based vacuums. Central systems pull air and dust through pipes into a unit that's often in a garage or another remote area and exhaust the air outside your living space. So instead of breathing the exhaust, it literally leaves your home. Again, not perfect. They still generate particles, but at least those particles aren't all stuck circulating in the same room you sleep in. Water-based systems trap dust in water instead of just in dry filters. When it works properly, more of the particles end up stuck in the liquid instead of flying back out. Still plastic, still there, but at least less of it is airborne. Here's the key: no brand gets you to zero. There is no miracle machine that makes microplastics vanish from the planet. Some just quietly punish you a little less. Even if you bought the best vacuum tomorrow, you're still not safe. Because the vacuum is not the root cause, it's just the most obvious, noisy part of a much bigger problem. Every synthetic thing in your home is constantly shedding. Your carpet is slowly turning into dust. Your sofa is slowly turning into dust. Your clothes, your curtains, your pet's bed, those cheap cushions you ordered online, all slowly turning into dust. And dust is what you vacuum. So what the vacuum really does is take the plastic that would have stayed mostly stuck to surfaces or settled low, and give it wings. It chops it, lifts it, and fires it into your breathing zone. You didn't just buy a vacuum. You bought into an entire plastic environment that's now circling back into your body in the form of tiny little particles you'll never see. So what do you actually do with this? You can't get rid of every plastic thing in your home tonight. You can't stop every fibre from shedding, but you can stop supercharging the problem without realising. First, vacuum with windows open, whenever possible, so at least some of that loaded air has somewhere to go. If you're using a bagless vacuum, step away from where you live and breathe when you empty it. Outside if you can, turn your face away. Don't stick your head over the bin like you're inspecting your work. Seriously consider switching from bagless to a good sealed bag machine when you next upgrade. It's not sexy, it's not transparent, but it's a lot less dramatic for your lungs. Run an air purifier with a good filter while and after you vacuum. Let it run for a while. Don't vacuum and then immediately sit down and take a big satisfied breath in the same room. And vacuum slightly less, and dust or wet clean a bit more in places that matter most, like your bedroom or a baby's room, so you're not constantly kicking particles into the air where you sleep. Most people will keep doing what they've always done. Vacuum, empty, breathe, repeat. They'll keep judging clean by what they see on the floor. You now know that the real story is in what you can't see in the air. And this is just the vacuum. If you think this is bad, wait until you see what your washing machine is doing to your clothes, and where all those synthetic fibres are actually ending up after every laundry cycle. That's not dust. That's a hidden plastic ocean you've been feeding for years, without even touching a vacuum.